car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And my name is Ivan Streckel, and we're going to be talking about the values of your vehicle. If you're interested in getting a value on your car, this is the place to call. And we have a double format again, which means that we are live on 1370 AM radio in Pensacola, Florida. We've been doing this show going on almost 20 years now. And we're also videotaping this for our Blab TV customers, goes out throughout our area to let the people in our area know that if you are in the market for a car, Frontier Motors is the place to go for free advice. And we do this from 9 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, except for Sunday. And it's not just myself that it will help you. We have 5 sales managers, and we also have 11 salespeople are there to help you get the values of your car. And we do values a little bit differently than you can get on. And that's one of the reasons that you'd want to call Frontier Motors to figure out, to let us figure out for you if the book value is high or if it's low. Once in a while, you'll get the opposite where the book value is lower than reality. And usually the example would be an older Jeep Wrangler. If you are looking at buying, let's say, a 2005 Jeep Wrangler and the book value says it's worth $7,000, it's not unusual for them to be selling for $2,000 to $3,000 over the book value. Of course, you wouldn't know this unless you started getting into the marketplace and doing this for a living. The other things that we help you with at Frontier Motors is that there's actually a lot of things that we can help you with if you are, even if you're not in the car market. For example, let's say that you get hit by someone that's running a red light and they broadside your car and you've got $7,000 worth of damage on your $12,000 car. Well, at that point, what we would do at Frontier Motors is give you a letter of diminished value. And what that means is that we would put in writing what the new value of your vehicle is, even though it might have been fixed properly. Let's say you take it to one of the good body shops that we have available in our area, and they put all brand new parts on it. They make the car look like brand new. You can't even tell it's been painted on. But the Carfax or the AutoCheck, which are the two providers of history reports, says that it's been in a major accident, the airbags were deployed, and the vehicle had to be towed. Well, what does that do to the value of your car? Obviously, it diminishes the value of the car. And most insurance companies will compensate you if somebody runs into you. Now, I'm going to say that again. I didn't say every insurance company. I said most insurance companies will compensate you if somebody runs into you. If you run into somebody else, you don't get diminished value because it was your fault. But if somebody runs into your car and now your vehicle has had a major accident and it wasn't your fault, obviously I feel that you should get to participate in the diminished value. Because if I'm going to be appraising that car as a trade-in, that car is going to be more difficult to sell than one that hasn't been in an accident. And that dollar amount is my opinion, or our opinion. I have our sales manager also can help you with diminished value. We had a customer come in the other day, and they wanted to get a diminished value letter, but the vehicle was quite an old vehicle, and the accident was like 4 years ago. Well, I wouldn't give them a letter of diminished value because as far as I was concerned, the vehicle's been on the road for 4 more years. It's running properly. It's an old car. I didn't really have a lot of diminished value. But let's just say hypothetically you're driving a 2015 car that's got 7,000 miles on it and you have a major accident. The diminished value might be $3,000 to $5,000 because if I'm going to disclose that to the next owner, which obviously means that you're going to get less money for it, which means that you should be compensated by the insurance company. So that's one thing we can help you with. The other thing is if your car gets totaled, heaven forbid, but if your car gets totaled and you want to make sure that you're being properly compensated by the insurance company, you would call Frontier Motors. And if you're watching this on TV right now, the numbers on the bottom of your screen, you can call Frontier Motors and we will give you in writing a letter of what we feel the value of that vehicle would be. We use an NADA guidebook, and it looks a little bit like this one here that I'm holding up, which is a gold book. It looks similar to the one that you can buy in the public library, but you can't buy this one. This is an edition. It's an official edition that used car dealerships and insurance companies and banks use, and it's a little bit different than the one you get on the internet. I know that there is an NADA value available on the internet. It's a consumer's edition, and the figures are different than ones I'm using. So you want to use the same one that our banks and credit unions and a lot of our insurance companies use. And I will put this in writing for you, and I will also let you give you a couple little tidbits. For example, a lot of people don't know that if your car gets totaled, let's say it's a $10,000 car, that they will also reimburse you for insurance. If you come in and buy a $10,000 car from me, you can't drive home at $10,000. You're going to have to pay around 7% taxes. You're going to have to pay a new title fee. You're going to have to pay a tag transfer fee. And all these things should be reimbursed by the insurance company if they're going to make you whole. The other thing that I would ask the insurance company, that if you're about to get insurance or renew insurance on your car, I would ask them, what do they use for criteria if your car gets totaled? I have some insurance companies that are very, very good as far as giving you a good value for your car. And there's some insurance companies that are very, very bad, and they use what they call comps. In other words, they go out in the marketplace and they scour the area and find vehicles that are the lowest priced, like yours, and they will ask you to take that dollar amount because they saw one advertised for a low price. Well, I can find just as many that are advertised for a high price, and it happens all the time. What you want to do is get somewhere in the middle. If the insurance company uses comparables, I can do comparables on my computer within a matter of seconds, which makes it. I have a program called Price Driver. I just plug in the vehicle that you have, and it shoots out every vehicle. It defaults to 150 miles, and this is a very good tool that I use not just for insurance purposes, but also for my pricing purposes. When I get a vehicle in trade, and I want to price the vehicle, I do a couple things to figure out what I should price that vehicle for. Obviously, what I want to do is I want to have the best vehicle for the money. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the cheapest one. And I get this a lot of times from customers that will Google a particular vehicle. I had a customer Google a particular vehicle the other day, and I made a copy of it. It was kind of interesting. It was a 2014 Honda Accord Sport. And I plugged in my program with 150 miles, and we had 14 exact matches. This is a little bit what it looks like in the Price Driver. It shoots out the exact matches. So I plugged in the Accord Sport, and this is a really good example because there are no options on Accords. When you plug in a vehicle like a Mercedes, for example, I had a customer the other day look at an SL 500, and there's a huge different prices all over the board. Well, what the customer didn't know is you can put $25,000 worth of options on a Mercedes. Well, on a Honda Accord Sport, there are no options. They're all identical. So when I plugged in the Accord, the customer came up with the least expensive one, which was $18,000, $18,700. It was at AutoNation, 48 miles away. I think it's over towards Mobile. AutoNation Honda at Bel Air Mall. I really don't know where Bel Air. I should really Google it because I keep saying it's over towards Mobile. It might be the other way. I don't have a clue. But anyways, it had 18,000 miles on it, and AutoNation has it advertised for $18,700. That was the least expensive one. Well, the funny thing is, the most expensive one was also at AutoNation. It was advertised for $25,300. It had 10,000 miles, almost 11,000 miles on. So the only difference was 8,000 miles, and the difference in price was $7,000 from the high to low. Now, why is that? And this happened to be at the same dealership. There was a lot of them in the middle. Well, the reason was that the $18,000 one was in very poor condition compared to the $25,000 one, which I'm sure was immaculate. Now, what I do at price, now this is an example where customers will scour, and so will insurance companies. They'll scour the internet, and they'll find that cheapest one. They'll always key on that least expensive one. Say, well, I found one at Joe Blow Motors 400 miles away, and this is what the price was. Well, the biggest thing that the first thing I do is I run a history report, because a lot of times those ones that are priced very, very low have been in some type of an accident, major accident. Maybe the airbags were deployed. Maybe there's other issues with the vehicle. Maybe it had 7 different owners. Maybe it was a theft recovery, which doesn't make it bad because some theft recoveries are fine. Some of them have been abused, depending how long it took to find the car. So what I do at Frontier Motors is I look in only the above average condition vehicles. And the auctions rate vehicles from 1 to 5. Don't ask me why it's not 1 to 10. I don't have a clue, but they rate them from 1 to 5. So if I would buy a 2014 Honda Accord Sport, like the ones I just talked about, I would only buy them if they were a 4 or above, which means that it's a non-smoker. There's no issues. There's no dings, no dents, no scratches. The tires are like brand new. Everything's ready to go. The car smells like it just came off the assembly line. And I will pay a little bit more for that car than the dealership that goes there on purpose and buys the one that's rated a 2, and they buy these on purpose so they can advertise the vehicle for less money than anybody else out there. Now, what it does is attract a lot of attention. And that's what happened with this customer, because they said, well, wait a minute, I think mine was priced at around $21,000, which was below the average. with low miles on. But this particular customer found this one at AutoNation for $18,700. I said, well, I can't bring mine down to $18,700. The only thing I can tell you to do is go and buy that particular car. Well, I knew what was going to happen. And what did happen is the customer came back and bought ours. Because when they went there, they found out the $25,000 one that they had was perfect, was way too much money, and they wouldn't come off the price. And the other one wasn't a very nice car. Now, I'm picking on these people because it's an extreme example, and I'm hoping they're not listening. There's a lot of them that are in the middle that have good prices on here. We've got Pensacola Honda had one with 6,000 miles for $20,900. Sam Boswell Honda had one for $20,200 with 40,000 miles. Sam Taylor Buick. They're all over the board, folks. And that's what I'm saying is that when you go pricing, don't concentrate on the least expensive one. What I would do is go in the middle. Forget about the real expensive ones, the dealers that are trying to make too much money. Forget about the least expensive ones because they're not good deals. They're a below average condition. A lot of times, one thing that kills a deal, a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on this because they can't see it in the picture, is if the car smells bad. So you look at the pictures online, and the pictures look really, really good. And you get there, and the first thing you open the door is it smells like bad smoke or some type of an odor, and the car smells disgusting. You close the door and you walk away. I've learned a long time ago that I won't buy a car on the internet because I can't smell it. So when I buy a car at an auction, people will say, well, how do you go to the auctions? Because I always tell people I do auctions. Well, I do auctions. I do them from home. But I have buyers that fly or drive to the auctions. I have somebody in Orlando this week. I've got somebody in Hattiesburg. I've got somebody in Atlanta and Birmingham. I've got somebody that will inspect the vehicles. Even though I have the condition report right there, I still send a person there because I want them to smell the car. I want to be able to bring that car back here, put the car in our front row, and advertise it at a very good price, and make sure that I've got above average condition car. And I think that's, that's one of the things that I read an article a couple of weeks ago that price is like the number 16th thing on the list of customers' most important things. Even though that's the first thing a customer asks is the price, because that's all they really want to know is how much is it. But that's not the most important thing. As long as you have a decent price on it, you don't have to be the least expensive. But they care about safety. They care about condition. They care about features. They care about benefits. They care about how many owners, if it has been an accident, how are the tires. There's so many things that are more important than just the bottom line price. But of course, all of the emphasis is always put on the price. What we do at Frontier Motors, we put the emphasis on everything. And we make getting a price on a car very, very easy for the people that come and shop at Frontier Motors. And I think that's the number one reason that people don't like buying cars. It's not because they don't want a new car or the number one thing is they hate the process. They hate the car buying process. They hate coming in and negotiating. So what I try to do at Frontier Motors, I try to make it very easy. And I never ask the customer, what do you want to pay? I think that's a foolish question for a dealership to ask a customer. I think it's the job of the dealership to tell the customer what they want for the car. I had a customer, this happened the other day. The same thing happened. He was looking at a Chrysler 300, and I gave him a price on the car. I appraised the trade-in. I went out and I gave him the price on the car, and the customer said no. He said, you're way off. And I said, well, my first question was, why did you say that? You're just way off. I said, the first thing I said, well, you'll notice that I never asked you what you wanted to pay for the car. He said, yeah, I did notice that. I said, the reason I said that is because I think it's my job to tell you what I want for the car. I'm not necessarily saying you're going to agree with every time. We're not a one-price shopping. There's some dealerships, I think there's some of I'm not sure if it's CarMax or AutoNation. There's some large conglomerate that has one price selling. In other words, whatever they have listed, whether it's on the internet or on the car, when you pull in, that's it. There's no negotiating. This particular customer had a pretty nice trade-in. It was a Buick they were trading. And I said, the only flexibility I have, I know what I need for the car. There doesn't have to be any negotiating on the car. But I said, there might be a little bit of flexibility on the trade-in. Depending on what you tell me about it, depending on if you give it a good send-off. In other words, if I have a customer interested in that trade-in, would you tell the next customer wanting to buy that car that it was a good car or a bad car? If you tell them it was a good car, it might be a little bit flexible on the trade value on the car. We ended up getting together, and the customer was very happy with the price, and they were also happy with the process. The process being that I didn't ask stupid questions like, what do you want your payment? And they were also payment conscious. That was one of the things that came out afterwards after I gave them a price. The next question the customer had was, what are my payments going to be? But what I did is I would give them payments. I didn't ask them, what do you want your payment to be? What do you want for your trade-in? What do you want to pay? What if I do this? What if I do this? Those are all questions that get you to buy a car right then and there and to get you to make an offer. And I feel that if you're a professional car dealership, you should tell the customer what's going to take to buy the car. And most people appreciate that. Most people come in and when I give you a price, and I tell you, one of the things that we've been talking about at Frontier Motors that how do you know if it's a good price or a bad price? Well, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can take my word for it, which works okay with my previous customers. Doesn't work very good when you're a first-time customer to Frontier Motors because we are a car dealership and people have a tendency not to believe a car dealership. So I've got to make sure that I do the research in a very short period of time to make sure that when I give you a price, that if you're going to go car shopping, that's the other way you're going to know if it's a good deal or not. Go out into the world and find out. So I always have to take the assumption that you're going to go to another car dealership. So I got to make sure when I give you a price that I give you a good price right off the bat. Because I only have one shot and I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to give you a price and all of a sudden drop the price $3,000. And I always tell a customer, if the customer says, well, is that the best you can do? I said, well, didn't you just ask me for my best price? And I have that happen a lot where customers come in and give me, you got one shot. Give me your best price. So what I do is I praise the vehicle. I give them the best price. And what I do a little bit different also is I add up all of the fees, which a lot of dealerships don't like to do because they charge other different fees. But I add up all the fees, which is a doc fee, a title fee, a transfer fee, the taxes, the county taxes. We add that all up. I put it in writing, and I make you a copy of it. People are always a little bit confused when I give them a copy and say, why don't you go and shop this? Because they're always thinking that when they go to the door, or a lot of people have bought a lot of cars, always think that you're going to go run out after them, and then you're going to change the price. I don't like playing that game. I always have this attitude like, if I could have done a better deal, why didn't I do it? And again, the trade value a lot of times is an opinion. Even if all the books that we use, the black wholesale guidebooks, the NADA books, even if they all agree on the values, it's still an opinion. I can still change my mind. If I need to put an extra $500 in the car, I can do that if I feel it's worth it. Sometimes it's not worth it. I'm giving you all the money right off the bat, especially if your vehicle needs a lot of reconditioning. Sometimes a customer comes in and I have a laundry list of things that I have to do to their car before I can make it sellable. And it can be cosmetic. Sometimes it can be mechanical. A lot of times a customer has a car where things don't work. They don't even know it. I had a customer the other day told me everything works on my car. Well, the first thing I tried was the power windows. The right rear power window didn't work. The customer didn't lie to me. He just has never used that power window in years. So he didn't know it didn't work. Sometimes it's simple things. I had one customer that said everything works on their car, and I switched it to AM radio because we are on 1370 AM radio. Well, guess what? Their AM radio didn't work. They didn't know it because they listened to FM. But these are things that I look at when I take a car and trade because I'm going to have to make sure that that car, everything works properly to be able to sell it to the next customer. But we make that process very simple. And we have been in business for almost 20 years that almost 70% of our customers are repeat and referral customers. That is unheard of in the used car industry. And one reason I say it's unheard of in the used car industry is because you can buy a used car anywhere you want. The last time I counted, there was 81 used car dealerships in the Pensacola area, 81 and 17 new car dealerships. With 81 used car dealerships, now I did take the amount of cars sold in the two counties and divide it in those 81 car dealers, and the average car dealership sells 15 cars a month. We average almost 200 cars a month. Now, there's a reason for that. Not just trying to pat ourselves on the back. One reason is because we have 368 cars in inventory as of this morning. So the more inventory you have, of course, the more chance you are of having the right car for a customer. But it's not that so much. It's because customers come back year after year after year to Frontier Motors, and customers are referred to Frontier Motors, not so much just because of our good deals and the amount of inventory we have, but how we do the process. People really like coming in and being said, hey, this is what it's going to cost you. And if you're not sure, why don't you go think about it? Why don't you go shop around? Why don't you let me know when you're ready? And that really what sets us apart from the competition. A lot of people, a lot of dealerships, they have meetings in the morning, and all they do is teach their salespeople how to get a customer to buy a car right then and there. And the reason that is because they're afraid you're going to walk out. More importantly, with new car dealers, because all the cars are the same prices. Used cars is a little bit different because they're all different colors, they're all different mileage, they're all different condition and equipment. So it's very difficult if I've got a certain car on the lot to find that car exactly the same somewhere else. But a new car dealership, you can find that car down the road exactly the same with exact window sticker. They all pay the same. It's just a matter of who's going to deal the most and who's going to give you the most for the trade-in. So they're really scared to let you walk out the door, so they got to play that game. And you're not going to see that game at Frontier Motors. Let's get on to some of the other things that we offer. We have the new car cost guides at Frontier Motors. These are the invoice guides, and when I get my consumers reports, which I get on a monthly basis, in the back of consumers reports, it says that you can buy an invoice for $14. And they help save thousands of dollars to the average customer, because when you have an invoice, you know what the dealer paid. Well, if you know what the dealer paid, you might be able to get yourself a better deal. Well, you don't have to pay $14 for an invoice. We've got the invoice guidebooks at Frontier Motors. These come out about every 3 or 4 months. It tells me what the retail is of a particular car. It tells me the equipment packages and tells me the dealer costs. And I can share this information with you if you are going to buy a brand new car. The other thing I can help you with, folks, if you're going to buy a brand new car and I can't talk you out of buying that new car, which is one of the things that I'm going to try to do, because what I do is sell pre-owned cars. Now, they might be cars with very low miles on them. I'll give you an example. If you come to Frontier Motors and you say, hey, I'm Ivan, I'm going to buy a brand new Jeep Wrangler at Hill Kelly Dodge. Well, the first thing I would say, if you're going to buy a brand new Jeep Wrangler, please go to Hill Kelly Dodge. They're our local dealer. Keep the money in your car community. I do have a Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, which is a 4-door, 4-wheel drive in stock. It's got 1,000 miles on. So before you go, I would say, well, let's take a look at a new one. You can go to them, look at a new one, and let's take a look at mine with 1,000 miles on it. Let me appraise your trade-in. Let me add all the taxes and fees, and then let's compare it to a new one. If the new one is close to the price as mine being used with 1,000 miles, well, I'd be the first one to say, go buy the brand new one. But normally what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to save you enough money to be able to convince you, as long as the vehicle that I have has no issues, to buy the one with 1,000 miles on. I've got a couple of cars like that with 1,000 miles. I got a Buick Regal with 1,000 miles. I got a Nissan Quest with 1,000 miles. We have a Ford Focus with 1,000 miles. We have a Hyundai Elantra with 1,000 miles. We have a Lincoln MKZ with 2,000 miles on. We have a Chevy Impala with 2,000 miles, an Elantra with 2,000 miles, a Honda Civic with 3,000 miles, on and on and on, of hundreds of cars that we have on the lot with very low miles that compete with a brand new one. Now, because we have so many cars that we compete with brand new ones, we also take a lot of nice trade-ins that are going to be quite a bit less expensive. We normally have about 50 cars on the lot that we can sell for less than $10,000. And these cars are not cars I bought at auction. Once you get to the older cars at the auction, the red light goes on, the auction sells them as is. So I don't like buying cars as is. I want to be able to test drive the car. I want to be able to get it inspected. I want to be able to look at it closer, and I can do that with a private individual. Now, the newer cars, I can buy some of those at auction because they are on a green light, which means they're completely guaranteed against issues like flood damage, odometer problems, lemon law buybacks, things that people worry about are going to be disclosed. So I don't have a problem buying a car at the auction if it's got a green light. But if it's a red light, I don't buy them at the auction. So a lot of people come and say, well, where do you get your less expensive cars? Well, we take them in trade, or we buy them from private individuals like yourself. I had a customer this morning that I saw online, had a car for sale. He says, bought a brand new car, but didn't trade my Jeep Commander in. So I saw that car on the internet, and I put an offer in on that Jeep Commander because I can inspect the car before I buy it, because it's a private individual. They've already bought a new car. I saw the picture that they had online, and there was no tag on it. So I knew they transferred their tag. I don't even know how they're going to be able to drive this vehicle legally to the dealership to get me inspected, but they're going to come in and get an inspection done by me. It's going to take 10 minutes. We're going to drive it around the block, let our mechanic look at it. I'm going to make you an offer on the vehicle. And the offer and the amount of money they were selling it for was very close to what my offer is going to be, as long as the vehicle pans out properly. So these are the things that we can help you with. And I should spend actually more time talking about the fact that we do buy cars. And I got off track a little bit when we talked about the other thing I can help you with. If you are going to buy a brand new car and I can't talk you out of it, the other thing I'm going to help you with is let's get a second opinion on your trade-in. Because you're going to get a first opinion from the dealership you're doing business with. So if you're going to buy a brand new Lexus at Lexus & Mobile, and you work out your price and you say, hey, I like that RX 350. Yeah, it's $50,000. You got it down to $46,000. I'm happy with that price. And you toss them the keys for your diesel pickup truck. How do you know if they're not going to try to steal it? What is a Lexus dealership going to do with a diesel pickup truck? they're going to sell it to somebody else, which is going to take a little, they're going to sell to a broker. And that broker is going to take a little bit of money off of that appraisal so he can transport it to the auction, pay the auction fee, and still make money on it. You could get as much of a difference in an appraisal. I've seen them as much as $2,000 difference if the dealership's not going to keep your car. At Frontier Motors, so what I'm going to do is put a bid in that car before you go to that Lexus dealership. I'm using Lexus as an example because they're over in Mobile, and they're probably not listening to this show. So, and I'm not saying anything bad about them. Maybe they'll give you a better appraisal. I find normally that there's two big knockout factors. And I found this the other day. I'm not going to mention the name of the dealership. It's a local dealer in Mobile that gives you a lower appraisal even if it's the same type of car that they're selling. And the reason it was is because they had enough of those. They had them all lined up and they weren't selling them like crazy. So you got a lower appraisal even though it was the same type of model car you were buying. And people don't realize that. And sometimes another reason you get a low appraisal is because the dealership doesn't have any money. Let's say they have $2 million stuck in their used car inventory and they're maxed out. The owner calls up the used car manager and says, hey, don't buy any more used cars. We got no money left. And now you come with a $40,000 pickup truck. Well, guess what? You're not going to, even if they want that vehicle, they don't have the money left to buy it. So they have to broker it to someplace else. I find that a lot because I get a lot of calls from other dealerships that call me for appraisals. And sometimes I think, well, why aren't you keeping this vehicle? They're maxed out. They can't afford it. And that's why they call for us for the appraisal. So again, we've only got 2 minutes left. Let me recap some of the things that we can help you with at Frontier Motors. If you're watching this on Blab TV, you should be seeing our phone number on the bottom of the screen. And one of the things that we can do is give you a free appraisal. If you're going to buy a car from a neighbor, a relative, or friend, we can tell you what to pay. We'll do a free history report for you. We'll do a free Carfax report. And we'll also do a free auto check. So we do both reports. You can also like us on Facebook, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube. This show right here, if you're watching it, if you're listening to this on 1370 and you want to see what the show looks like, just plug in Frontier Motors on YouTube. You're going to be able to pop up, and you're going to be able to watch the show. If you got nothing else to do, if you're that bored, you can go ahead and do that. And also, if you go to our website at frontiermotorsinc.com, we also have this show running on the website. And when you go on the website, you're going to see 368 cars for sale. They're going to have detailed photographs, about 35 detailed photographs. They're all going to have prices. Unless I got the car yesterday or the day before, we price the cars as fast as we can and give you an idea, of course, what we're bottom line prices on the car. But that's one of the things that we can do at Frontier Motors, just one of the things we can do at Frontier Motors. We are located at 230 Beverly Parkway. We're outside of Car City by a little bit, to make sure that our overhead is as low as possible. We don't have a mausoleum. You're not going to be wowed when you come in, but you are going to be wowed about how we do business, how easy it can be, the deal you're going to get, the amount of inventory that we have. Almost 370 cars in one location. Our salespeople are kind enough to unlock every single car every morning so you can shop at your leisure if you like. And that's Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we've got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.